Anwar Ibrahim, welcome back to Foreign Correspondent and, more importantly, your freedom.
Thank you.
What was the hardest thing about those 6 years in prison? What did you find the toughest aspect of all those years in jail?
Well, thinking of the hardship, the ordeal inflicted on Aziza and the family, the children, and how they have to cope without me, and in an environment which is very hostile, and continued harassment, and an endless vicious and malicious attack in the media.
Just describe for us briefly that moment which has led to your injuries now, when you were bashed and left. What actually happened then?
Well, I was arrested, blindfolded, handcuffed, and I was assaulted severely. Then I lay unconscious until the following day. After I regained consciousness, I was quite sure that they will not allow me to live. I mean, they would prefer me dead, because I think with that sort of injury, and I was crawling to the bathroom, and still the police officers were exceedingly kind. Some of them were crying. They cried when they saw me, and they said, and I said, I want to see a doctor. They said, then they came back and said, sorry, sir, we tried our best. We pray for you, but we can't do anything.
That's extraordinary, though, for the Deputy Prime Minister of the country to be crawling to go to the toilet and be asking for help, and that help to be denied.
That happened. I mean, that's why I say forgive, yes. Forget, no. You can't forget. And I think this must be a lesson, because if it could occur to me, other Malaysians, have experienced this, and this all there was massive cover-up of these atrocities. But I do hope, and I will continue to demand, these excesses must stop.
What does it do to a person, particularly of your standing, your intellectual rigour and vigour, if you like, to be isolated like that, to be told what to do?
They don't treat me just like a common criminal, but it's worse. I was the only one in solitary confinement. I'm the only one to provide a camera in front of the room. So
the whole time?
Of the cell, throughout. It's 24-hour monitoring, surveillance, and to discourage even wardens, prison guards, to speak to me.
What kept you going?
I know I'm innocent. I know that I will be vindicated ultimately, and I have full confidence in the capacity of the public, the masses, Malaysians, to understand and decide well. I know that many of them have to pretend to support authorities, because in a semi-authoritarian regime, you have to withstand a lot of pressures and sacrifice if you actually choose to express yourself fully.
As you know, we looked at this very thoroughly, at the conspiracy that was behind your imprisonment and your charges. What role did the then Prime Minister, Mahathir Mohammad, have in your imprisonment?
Well, he was clearly not the mastermind, but he was the chief. He decided, look, Anwar has to go. You guys think of a plan, a strategy to demolish him politically. And to the Muslim masses, sexual misconduct is always seen as to be a greater crime, because they can use corruption, because corruption is so pervasive among leaders then and now. They can't use even sexual misconduct with women, because so many scandals revolving the colleagues of Mahathir, and for that matter, Mahathir was never free of very serious allegations about affairs with women, not when he was 75, but certainly 10 years earlier or 20 years earlier. And these are known facts. So homosexuality, of course, something which Muslims find revolting and is condemned.
Clearly nursing the physical cost of years in prison, now for the first time he details in person how he fell out of favour with his former ally, the Prime Minister Mahathir Mohammad. So he resented your popularity.
Yes.
He saw you as a threat.
Yes. But that I think was able to contain. And because I continue to reiterate my loyalty towards him, I said, no way will I challenge him. You see, because I thought the transition should be smooth. And he, as an intelligent man, not ruthless, would see the necessity of change and retire honorably. But he wanted to fight the entire system. He condemned the West, he condemned Soros, he condemned virtually everyone else at the IMF, the World Bank, except himself. And there were problems involving his son's company. He insisted that there should be a bailout. I said to him, I am sympathetic to your son. Let me deal with it. Let me do whatever I can within my power to delay action against him. But I can't sign the 2 billion ringgit transaction using government funds.
That's what he was asking you to do?
Yes.
To bail out his son?
Yes, to bail out his son.
With Mahathir, though, in particular, I mean, he was your mentor. He was almost like a father to you, politically speaking. How do you feel about what he did today, whatever his motivations were? I mean, is there a sense of betrayal? Is there an anger?
Yeah, but 6 years have passed, and time is a great healer. I have no real malice towards him. I mean, let him get on with his life. I think he has suffered enough. I believe he's a very bitter man now. I will, of course, exercise my right to defend myself from the allegations and the irresponsible remarks that he made against me. I will not choose to go beyond that.
That must take a lot. I mean, that's an extremely diplomatic and statesmanlike approach, but 6 years of your life have been stolen by Mahathir.
Yeah, as I said, I will not forget. For the sake of the country, for propensity, people have to learn this corrupt, irresponsible, ruthless, oppressive manner must not be allowed to happen again. But I see, what is the point? I've got to go on. There's so many things we need to do. We have to ensure that Malaysia remains, a peaceful country, united. And why live for the next 5 to 10 years thinking about Mahathir? He's obsolete, and let us forget and move on. Let us look at this event as a black chapter of our history and move on.
Abdullah Badawi, the new Prime Minister, what role did he play in your release, you think, in this? I know that there's the talk about the independent judiciary reasserting itself, but clearly in Malaysia, under the situation, the Prime Minister has the power to influence that.
I did thank Abdullah, because it wouldn't have happened if Mahathir is still in power. But I know for a fact that the harassment continue. The judges, you went a bit too far. I mean, the judiciary, that is very difficult to turn back. And the judiciary, you have still the old guards, the corrupt members, the virtually lackeys of the executive are still there.
What then is your immediate political path, I guess? I mean, will you go back and head an opposition movement against the government?
I'm saying that my interest is not partisan politics right now. My interest is national unity, peace, and we have to grapple with this complex issue of terrorism and the way Islam is being demonized. We think that we need to also impress upon the West, particularly the United States. The moment you associate yourself with an Islamic organization or group, you are deemed to be fanatics and extremists and have a propensity to violence. Now, how do you deal with the issue of terrorism and extremism and fanaticism if you do not engage yourself with credible Muslim groups?
Just back to your political future, if I may. Will you keep open the possibility of rejoining the ruling party, UMNO?
My commitment is for the reform agenda. My interest right now is not to decide whether or not to rejoin UMNO. I'm saying that our agenda is to have a consensus among Malaysians, to forge a more democratic Malaysia, to try and influence both UMNO and the government and the opposition, to try and adjust and behave accordingly as a modern, liberal voice in a civilized world.
So would you be prepared to work with Badawi in the party to achieve that?
I don't think it is a question of having to work in the party. You should not preclude the emergence of a new consciousness in civil society. You should not, Malaysia is not and should not function as a one-party state.
And if you bump into Mahathir Mohammad back in KL, or if he was here now, what would you actually say to him?
I'll say hello. I mean, no qualms about it. How are you doing? How's Hasma, his wife, and the children? I'll be distant and civil.
Some people would look at you and just find that quite unbelievable that you could have that grace after what you've gone through.
I think the experience taught me. I said, time is a great healer, and I think we'll have to deal with it. I mean, we have to look forward, move on, and learn from our past experiences. But just pray hard that this should not recur. This should not ever happen in this country.
Anwar Ibrahim, thank you very much for talking with us again.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best and a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
With all the politics, it's easy to forget Anwar's imprisonment has been at great personal cost. His 6 children have grown up without him, while his wife, Wan Aziza, has had the dual role of opposition leader and single mother. But their joy at his return is clear.